absolutely going to testify. I won't even say his name. He is an evil being and is going to pay.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time.
I am absolutely going to testify. I won't even say his name. He is an evil being and it's going to pay. The voice, steady and resolute, sends a chill through the courtroom. This isn't just a witness speaking, this is a reckoning. This is Cassie Ventura, the woman who stepped forward, alleging years of abuse and manipulation at the hands of one of the most powerful figures in the music industry, Sean Diddy Combs. The allegations are explosive, detailing a world of alleged sex performances, dubbed freak-offs, controlled and at times allegedly electronically recorded by Combs. A world where power and control allegedly masked a darker reality. And the trial, the legal battle that will decide the fate of a music mogul, is unfolding with a dramatic intensity that has Hollywood holding its breath and the music industry crumbling under the weight of its own secrets.
I think that I was just, living in this shame, living in all this sort of stuff of my past, and I wasn't able to move on. It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
The courtroom fell silent, every eye fixed on the defense table. Diddy's composed facade, the carefully curated image of a confident, even arrogant music mogul, suddenly shattered into a million pieces. His fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white, veins bulging in his neck, his face flushed with rage as he shot up from his chair with such force it nearly toppled backward. "This is all lies," he shouted, his voice echoing off the walls of the courtroom like thunder, raw and uncontained. The jury visibly recoiled, startled by the sudden outburst. Court reporters froze mid-type, their fingers hovering over their keyboards. Spectators in the gallery gasped, leaning forward in their seats, their eyes wide with shock. What triggered this explosive outburst, this moment of raw, unbridled fury that shocked even the veteran judge who'd seen it all, who had presided over countless high-profile, dramatic cases?
I think the person that the you of then was on a path of self-destruction.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%, yeah. It would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark. So I'm very, very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying that's what I want. But I want to definitely tell my story so that if that resonates to anybody, that they can hopefully. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted encounters and
Just moments earlier, a digital grenade had detonated, not within the confines of the courtroom, but in the digital world, sending shockwaves through the music industry and directly into Diddy's perfectly curated reality. Justin Bieber, the global pop superstar, had broken the music industry's long-standing code of silence with a bombshell statement supporting Cassie, a statement that absolutely no one saw coming. It was a digital grenade that detonated directly in Diddy's carefully constructed world, exposing a vulnerability, a crack in his carefully maintained image. And inside, sources are finally revealing the uncensored truth about what really happened behind those sealed courtroom doors on day 2 of the trial that has Hollywood holding its breath and the music industry grappling with its own uncomfortable truths. Security guards, their faces set with professional detachment, positioned themselves strategically around Diddy as the judge's gavel came down hard 3 times in rapid succession, the sharp cracks echoing through the tense silence. "Mr. Combs, this is a court of law, not a recording studio," she declared, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife through butter, her tone icy, unwavering. "You do not control what happens here." The spectators in the gallery could feel the temperature in the room drop 10 degrees with her icy tone, the weight of her authority palpable. But what exactly led to this dramatic moment, this public display of raw emotion that may have just sealed Diddy's fate forever?
yeah. So I just want to protect her, I don't want her to to lose it. I don't want her to, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So, yeah, if she ever needs me, just think about how young I was and so impressionable. And you have everybody telling me how awesome I am at all times, and
It's like taking a kid and putting a kid in a room full of nothing but sweets.
Right.
And just saying, I'll be back in 2 days.
Exactly. I just want people to understand, the psychology behind why I potentially could have.
Day 2 started with an eerie calm, a stillness that felt like the quiet before a hurricane. Diddy walked in, surrounded by his expensive legal team, a phalanx of lawyers who charged thousands of dollars an hour and had represented senators and Fortune 500 CEOs. He was projecting the same confidence that had built his billion-dollar empire, his demeanor a carefully crafted performance of power and control. Dressed in a custom-tailored Italian suit that probably cost more than what most people make in a month, his diamond cufflinks caught the fluorescent courtroom lights as he adjusted his tie, a small gesture of nerves. But something was different today. His eyes darted around the room nervously, scanning faces as if searching for potential threats or spies, a sign of underlying anxiety. One courtroom sketch artist, a veteran of high-profile cases, later told reporters that she'd never drawn eyes that looked so haunted in her 15 years covering the courts. Court officials had quietly added extra security near his table, a subtle but significant departure from the usual protocol, even for celebrity trials of this magnitude. One guard stood directly behind his chair, a constant presence, another positioned strategically by the aisle leading to the judge's bench, a silent guardian. A third security officer kept glancing at Diddy every 30 seconds, hand hovering near his belt, ready to intervene if necessary. The atmosphere felt electrically charged, as if everyone in the room was collectively holding their breath, waiting for something to explode, for the carefully constructed facade to finally shatter. Legal analysts in the back row whispered among themselves that something felt off from the moment the proceedings began. They exchanged knowing glances, their experienced eyes detecting a subtle shift in the courtroom dynamic. Then Cassie made her entrance, and the energy in the room instantly transformed. Wearing a simple black dress with a white collar, modest, sophisticated, nothing flashy, she walked with a quiet dignity that commanded attention more effectively than any designer outfit or display of wealth could. She was surrounded by a protective circle of friends and supporters who formed a human shield around her, their faces set with determination, their loyalty a palpable force. None of them were celebrities or music industry players. They were just ordinary people who'd stood by her, offering support and unwavering belief when the spotlight wasn't on them, when the cameras were off. The contrast couldn't have been more striking. Diddy with paid security worth 6 figures, a symbol of his power and his paranoia. Cassie with loyal supporters who ask for nothing in return, a testament to her authenticity and the strength of her claims. What truly caught the attention of close observers wasn't just the different entourages, but Diddy's increasingly strange behavior. He couldn't stop checking his phone, a $50,000 custom device reserved for the ultra-wealthy, a symbol of his status. His thumb scrolled obsessively across the screen, his breathing pattern changing with each swipe, a clear sign of distress. Court reporters sitting closest to him noticed that his hand actually trembled slightly, something completely out of character for a man known for his unwavering control and his ability to project an image of unflappable confidence. Each time he looked at the screen, his expression darkened like storm clouds, gathering until his visibly panicked lawyer physically reached over and forcefully took the device away, whispering something urgent in his ear that made Diddy's jaw clench so tight a muscle twitched in his cheek, a clear indication of a rising panic.
Let's talk about the fact that Combs' co-defendant in a civil case, a case, by the way, that accuses him and this co-defendant, another A-lister, of rape. This guy is once again slamming the attorney behind the case, insisting that he be sanctioned for allegedly not doing his job. We're talking, of course, about Sean Carter, better known as Jay-Z, once again calling out attorney Tony Busby, calling out his character, more specifically into question, claiming that the Texas attorney's filings have, quote, substantial. Now, we've talked about this before, but basically, a civil lawsuit was filed against Sean Combs on behalf of a Jane Doe who says that she was raped by Combs and another celebrity at a home after the Video Music Awards in 2000.
Yeah. So, I just want to protect her, you know? I don't want her to lose it. I don't want her to, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So, yeah, if she ever needs me, just think about how young I was and so impressionable, and you have everybody telling me how awesome I am at all times, and it's like taking a kid and putting a kid in a room full of nothing but sweets and just saying, I'll be back in 2 days. Exactly. I just want people to understand, the psychology behind why I potentially could have. Meanwhile, the prosecution team operated with the synchronized precision of a SWAT unit. They exchanged knowing glances across their table, occasionally whispering behind manila folders and leather portfolios, their movements coordinated and deliberate. Sharp-eyed courtroom veterans noticed something unusual. They passed notes written on blue paper instead of the standard legal yellow, suggesting a predetermined code system, a way to communicate crucial information discreetly. At one point, the lead prosecutor showed her assistant something on her tablet that made the young woman's eyes widen momentarily before her professional mask slipped back into place. They nodded at each other like chess players who just identified the perfect checkmate sequence, a sign that their strategy was unfolding exactly as planned. One investigative journalist would later report that the prosecution had received a bombshell piece of evidence just 20 minutes before court convened. Evidence they had strategically waited to introduce, a calculated move to maximize its impact. Diddy's main attorney, a man who'd successfully defended senators and Fortune 500 CEOs, a man known for his calm demeanor and his ability to control even the most challenging courtroom situations, tried repeatedly to calm his client down. He leaned in close, placed a manicured hand on Diddy's shoulder, offering a reassuring gesture, only to have it forcefully shrugged off with such contempt that several jurors exchanged glances, uncomfortable with the public display of disrespect. This happened not once, but 3 separate times, each rejection more aggressive than the last, a clear indication of Diddy's escalating panic and his inability to control his emotions. By the 3rd attempt, the attorney's composed expression had cracked slightly, revealing genuine concern bordering on fear, a rare glimpse of vulnerability from a man known for his unflappable demeanor. Legal experts watching the interaction later commented that it resembled a handler trying to calm an unpredictable animal rather than a normal attorney-client interaction. When Judge Marlo Stevens entered the courtroom, her expression immediately signaled trouble brewing. Known for her poker face through even the most sensational celebrity cases, her brow was furrowed with unusual tension, a sign that something serious was happening beneath the surface. She made eye contact with the head of security and gave an almost imperceptible nod that resulted in 2 additional officers quietly entering through a side door, their presence adding to the already tense atmosphere. Her clerk seemed unusually alert, sitting straighter in his chair, his hand hovering near the panic button installed under all judicial benches, a sign that something had clearly put the entire court on high alert. Though most spectators couldn't identify what triggered the subtle shift in atmosphere, the tension in the room was palpable. What nobody in that courtroom realized, not even Diddy's own legal team, was that he had seen something on social media just 18 minutes before proceedings began that would completely unravel his carefully constructed public persona and potentially change the course of the trial. His team desperately tried to hide his phone, to shield him from the digital world, but it was too late. The damage was done. He'd already seen what Justin Bieber had posted, and it was about to change not just the trial, but potentially the entire power structure of the music industry that Diddy had dominated for decades. A structure built on loyalty and control. Problems in my life. Meaning time. Let's talk about the fact that Combs' co-defendant in a civil case, a case, by the way, that accuses him and this co-defendant, another A-lister of rape. This guy is once again slamming the attorney behind the case, insisting that he be sanctioned for allegedly not doing his job. We're talking, of course, about Sean Carter, better known as Jay-Z, once again calling out attorney Tony Busby, calling out his character, more specifically into question, claiming that the Texas attorney's filings have, quote, substantial. Now, we've talked about this before, but basically a civil lawsuit was filed against Sean Combs on behalf of a Jane Doe, who says that she was raped by Combs and another celebrity at a home after the Video Music Awards in 2000. During the first 15-minute recess, the courthouse hallways exploded with frantic activity. Veteran reporters who normally maintain professional detachment abandoned all pretense, running toward the exits with phones in hand, eager to get the story out. Court employees who weren't supposed to have their devices on during proceedings huddled in bathroom stalls and stairwells, frantically refreshing their social media feeds, their curiosity overcoming their professionalism. Entertainment journalists speed-dialed their editors, speaking in hushed but urgent tones. "This changes everything," one was overheard saying, his voice filled with excitement. "We need to update the front page immediately." Court officers repeatedly had to remind everyone to turn their devices off before re-entering, but many snuck final glances at their screens, their expressions a mixture of shock and disbelief. What they were all looking at was a statement from Justin Bieber that hit the digital world like a nuclear bomb, sending shockwaves through the music industry and directly into that courtroom. This wasn't just another celebrity taking a vague sending love and prayers stance, or making a carefully neutral statement crafted by publicists. This was something unprecedented. A massive star with unquestionable industry credibility, taking a definitive side during an active trial against one of the most powerful figures in entertainment. The post carried extra weight because of the deep history connecting Bieber and Diddy. Industry insiders knew the significance immediately. Those infamous videos of teenage Bieber hanging out at Diddy's exclusive parties had circulated for years. Clips showing a very young Justin being introduced to Diddy's world of luxury, excess, and power. Diddy had publicly referred to himself as Justin's mentor and big brother countless times. He'd bragged in interviews about helping shape Bieber's career and transition from teen idol to adult artist. In a 2010 interview, Diddy had even claimed to have legal guardianship of Bieber for 48 hours. A statement that now took on disturbing new context in light of current allegations and Bieber's public support for Cassie. That long, seemingly close connection made this public statement feel like the ultimate betrayal to Diddy. Like a family member testifying against you in court, the music mogul had built his empire on loyalty above all else. His infamous motto, "Bad boy for life," wasn't just a catchy slogan, but a demand for unwavering allegiance from everyone in his circle. Now, one of his most high-profile protégés had just publicly sided with his accuser, a powerful blow to his carefully constructed image. What made Bieber's post truly devastating wasn't its timing, but its shocking specificity. There was nothing vague or open to interpretation about it. He directly mentioned witnessing Diddy's controlling behavior toward Cassie at no fewer than 7 different industry events spanning 3 years. He described in precise detail seeing Diddy grab Cassie's arm so forcefully, it left visible marks at the 2015 Met Gala after-party. He recounted an incident at the 2016 AMAs, where Diddy cut Cassie off mid-sentence during an interview, answered for her, then whispered something in her ear that made her visibly pale. He mentioned a private dinner in Calabasas, where Diddy monitored every word Cassie spoke and created a chilling atmosphere that made everyone uncomfortable. These weren't vague recollections or secondhand rumors. These were first-hand accounts with dates, locations, and even the names of other witnesses present. Details that could be verified and potentially corroborated by others. The level of specificity suggested Bieber had been keeping detailed mental notes for years, perhaps struggling with how to address what he had witnessed, a burden he could no longer carry in silence. This wasn't an impulsive post, but something carefully considered, possibly documented, and finally released at a critical moment when it would have maximum impact, a calculated move in a high-stakes game. The post included a particularly powerful photo that spoke volumes even without the accompanying text. It showed Bieber and Cassie at the Grammy after-party from 2017. At first glance, it looked like a typical celebrity photo. Both were smiling at the camera, standing close together, their arms around each other. But body language experts who later analyzed the image pointed out telling details. Cassie's smile didn't quite reach her eyes, which showed subtle signs of distress. Her body was positioned slightly away from where Diddy stood, just outside the frame, a subtle movement away from him. Bieber's hand was on her shoulder in what appeared to be a protective rather than casual gesture, a sign that he sensed her discomfort. Most damning of all, the edge of the photo, barely visible, showed Diddy's hand gripping Cassie's wrist, his fingers clearly digging into her skin, a chilling detail that hinted at the control and manipulation she allegedly endured. Bieber's caption expressed profound regret and unwavering support. "I've always respected Cassie's strength and dignity through circumstances none of us fully understood. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. I was young and afraid, but that's no excuse. What I witnessed wasn't normal or acceptable behavior. He concluded with a powerful declaration of solidarity. Standing with you now and always. Truth needs no permission. The post concluded with a butterfly emoji, a widely recognized symbol of transformation and freedom from captivity, a poignant symbol of Cassie's journey. With 270 million followers seeing this post within minutes, its impact was immediate and seismic. The hashtag #DoesIBelieveCassie began trending globally within 7 minutes of Bieber's post. Within 15 minutes, it had been shared 1.7 million times. Within the hour, 9 other major artists had reposted it with supportive comments, celebrities and musicians alike throwing their weight behind Cassie. News outlets from TMZ to the New York Times immediately began running headlines, their front pages dominated by the explosive news. Veteran entertainment reporters who'd been covering the industry for decades described it as a dam-breaking moment, a turning point comparable to the initial Me Too revelations that brought down powerful figures like Harvey Weinstein. This wasn't just celebrity gossip anymore. This was a massive cultural inflection point, a moment that could potentially change the course of the music industry. A beloved global superstar with unimpeachable credibility was essentially confirming the power dynamics that Cassie had described in her testimony, adding significant weight to her allegations. The post transformed the narrative from a simple "he said, she said" to a "they said, he said" with "they," now including one of the most influential voices in modern music, a voice that could not be easily dismissed or silenced. Industry insiders immediately began speculating about what other stars might come forward next, creating an atmosphere of paranoia throughout Diddy's inner circle, a circle built on loyalty and silence. Back in the courtroom, the tension when proceedings resumed was thick enough to cut with a knife. Every face showed awareness that something monumental had shifted during the brief recess. The judge's expression was more severe than before. The jurors exchanged meaningful glances, their eyes reflecting the impact of the news that had undoubtedly reached them during the break. The gallery buzzed with barely suppressed conversations until the bailiff called for order multiple times, struggling to maintain control. The only person who appeared completely unfazed by the digital storm, by the shift in the courtroom dynamic, was Cassie herself. She approached the witness stand with a transformation that stunned everyone present. Gone was the woman who had testified on day one, the person who had kept her eyes downcast, whose voice had occasionally trembled, who had hugged her arms around herself protectively, seemingly vulnerable and fragile. In her place stood someone entirely different. She walked with shoulders squared and head held high, her steps measured and confident, a picture of resilience and strength. Instead of avoiding eye contact like before, she looked directly at jury members, making brief but meaningful connections with each one, her gaze unwavering. Most notably, she didn't shy away from Diddy's direction. Though she never directly engaged his increasingly agitated stare, she simply acted as if he wasn't significant enough to acknowledge, the ultimate power move against someone whose entire identity revolved around being the most important person in any room. One exchange from 2016, displayed as evidence, showed Diddy sending 17 consecutive messages demanding to know why she hadn't answered her phone, a clear example of his controlling behavior. Another message revealed him asking for her exact location, down to which room she was in at a hotel, a level of surveillance that was deeply disturbing. "I need to know where you are every minute," one message read, followed by, "That's the deal if you want to keep your career." Cassie described with remarkable composure how Diddy systematically controlled every aspect of her personal and professional life, dictating who she could talk to, where she could go, and what projects she could work on. Her testimony, delivered in a steady voice that never wavered, even under the intense scrutiny of cross-examination, revealed a pattern of isolation and control that experts would later describe as textbook coercive control, a form of abuse that is often hidden from the public eye. She explained how Diddy gradually separated her from friends, family, and industry contacts who might offer support or perspective, creating a sense of dependency and isolation. He had a specific list of male artists I wasn't allowed to speak with unless he was physically present, she testified, referring to a document that the prosecution then displayed on the evidence screen. An actual printed list with names like Drake, The Weeknd, Chris Brown, and most notably Justin Bieber, all highlighted in red. This wasn't a suggestion, It was a requirement for continuing our professional relationship and my recording contract, she explained, highlighting the control Diddy exerted over her career. When asked how this rule was enforced, she explained, he had staff members whose sole job was to monitor my interactions at events. They would report back to him if I spoke to anyone on the list. She continued, when I asked why Justin was on the list since he was so much younger and seemed harmless, Diddy told me not to question him. He said, I know things about that kid that would shock you. Just do what I say. When I pressed the issue once at an after-party, attempting to engage in a conversation with someone Diddy disapproved of, he grabbed my arm in front of everyone, hard enough to leave fingerprint bruises that lasted for days, and whispered that I'd regret it if I ever questioned him again on this. What made her testimony particularly compelling was the level of specific detail she provided. She didn't speak in generalities, but recalled precise moments with exact dates, locations, witnesses, and even what people were wearing, details that added credibility to her claims and made her story deeply relatable. March 8, 2017. We were at the Standard Hotel in New York after the Jingle Ball. I was wearing a silver dress. Diddy wore a black suit with no tie. He monitored every conversation I had, standing close enough to hear every word. When producer Ryan Jenkins approached me about a potential collaboration, Diddy inserted himself between us within 30 seconds, put his arm around my waist so tightly it hurt, and said, "She's not available for that kind of project." She continued with similar precision. June 22, 2017, at his house in Miami, approximately 3:15 p.m. I received a text from my choreographer about rehearsal timing. Diddy demanded to see my phone, read through all my messages, then called my choreographer on speaker and changed the schedule entirely, saying I was unavailable at the originally planned times. He then deleted the choreographer's contact from my phone. September 12, 2018, backstage at the VMAs. I was speaking with a female stylist when Diddy arrived unexpectedly. He whispered, "You have 2 minutes to finish this conversation," while checking his watch pointedly. When I took 4 minutes instead of 2, he canceled my scheduled performance, claiming I was not mentally prepared to perform and needed to rest. I didn't leave our hotel room for the next 3 days. Then came the testimony that pushed Diddy visibly closer to the breaking point, the moments that directly connected to Justin Bieber's explosive statement. Cassie recounted in vivid detail an incident following the 2017 BET Awards after-party. I briefly spoke to Justin Bieber about a potential collaboration while Diddy was speaking with another executive across the room. It was maybe a 2-minute conversation about music, completely professional. Justin was respectful and mentioned he'd always admired my work. She continued, her voice steady but with a hint of remembered fear. Diddy appeared suddenly between us, smiled for the cameras that were present, then guided me away with his arm locked around my waist so tightly I could barely breathe properly. Once we were in the car heading back to the hotel, his entire demeanor changed. His face, it was like nothing I'd seen before. He was so angry his hands were shaking. He told me, "Even Justin knows what happens to people who cross me. Everyone in this industry knows the consequences. Nobody's career survives going against me." She paused, her voice wavering slightly, then added the detail that made several jurors visibly react. He said, "I made him, and I can break him just as easily. The same goes for you. Test me again and see what happens to both of you." With Bieber now publicly supporting her, this years-old threat suddenly appeared incredibly damning, transforming from what might have been dismissed as an angry ex's exaggeration into what now sounded like a documented pattern of intimidation, a chilling example of the control Diddy allegedly exerted over those in his circle. The timing couldn't have been worse for Diddy's defense strategy, which had centered around portraying Cassie as opportunistic and vindictive, fabricating allegations for money or fame. The courtroom atmosphere shifted dramatically when the prosecutor then revealed what would become the most discussed evidence of the trial, the digital thread connecting Justin Bieber and Cassie and potentially exposing a deeper truth. A series of previously undisclosed text messages between Justin Bieber and Cassie from 2017 through 2018 were displayed on the evidence screen. The lead prosecutor approached the screen with deliberate steps, her voice clear and firm, stating, "Your Honor, we'd like to present digital communications that directly contradict Mr. Combs's claim that Ms. Ventura fabricated these allegations recently for financial gain or attention." The screen displayed the first exchange from August 2017. Cassie had written, "I don't know what to do anymore. He monitors everything, my phone, my social media, even has people watching me when he's not around. He said, if I talk to anyone about what's happening, he'll make sure I never work again and will handle anyone who tries to help me. I'm scared all the time." Bieber's response appeared beneath, empathetic and concerned. "This isn't normal, Cass. What he's doing isn't okay. This is serious control stuff my mom warned me about. You need to talk to someone who can help, a professional who understands this kind of situation. I can help you find someone safe." A second exchange from October 2017 showed Cassie writing, "Things got worse after he saw us talking at the after party. I don't think I can do this much longer." Bieber responded, "Document everything. Screenshots, photos, dates. I've seen how he operates, and this isn't right. No career is worth what you're going through." The third and most damning exchange came from February 2018, where Cassie had sent, "He found out I was talking to a lawyer about my contract. I've never seen him so angry. He threw a crystal vase at the wall next to my head. Said he owns me and my career. I don't know how to get out." Bieber's response, "This is abuse. Full stop. I'm worried about your safety. You need to get somewhere he can't find you while you figure out next steps. I know people are scared of him in the industry, but this has gone too far." These messages completely contradicted Diddy's claim that Cassie had fabricated allegations for money or fame. The evidence showed she had been confiding in Bieber about the exact same behavioral patterns years before filing any lawsuit, providing a contemporaneous account of the alleged abuse. As this evidence appeared on the courtroom screens, Diddy's composure finally shattered completely. He shot up from his chair, the scraping sound making everyone jump, his face flushed deep red, his eyes bulging with rage. "This is all lies," he shouted, pointing at Cassie. "You know damn well that's not what happened. Where's your loyalty after everything I did for you? You're making this all up, both of you." His voice escalated with each word, his carefully constructed image of calm control dissolving into raw fury. The judge immediately banged her gavel 3 times, her voice sharp with authority, ordering him to sit down or be removed. Security officers rushed forward, one positioning himself between Diddy and Cassie, ready to restrain him if necessary. "Those are fake. They fabricated those messages." Diddy continued shouting, gesturing wildly at the evidence screen, his denial desperate. "This is a setup. Justin never said that." His attorney desperately tried to regain control of his client, shouting for a recess, but it was too late. The judge ordered the jury removed immediately. As they filed out, many couldn't help staring at Diddy, who was still standing and shouting, a clear indication of the impact his outburst had made. The security guards moved in on both sides of him, firmly instructing him to calm down, their presence a physical reminder of the authority of the court. With the jury out of the room, Judge Marlowe stood up and delivered a devastating rebuke. "Mr. Combs, this is a court of law, not a recording studio. You do not control what happens here." She warned him, "One more outburst like that, and I will hold you in contempt. You'll spend the remainder of this trial in a cell, making appearances only when necessary." She ordered a psychiatric evaluation before the next day's proceedings, a clear indication of her concern for Diddy's mental state, and imposed new, stricter security protocols. 2 officers would remain within arm's reach of Diddy at all times. His lawyers couldn't speak to him without an officer present, and his phone privileges were completely revoked, severing his connection to the outside world. When the jury returned, their reactions were impossible to miss. Several physically shifted away from the defense table, their body language clearly indicating their discomfort and a change in their perception. One juror who had been taking detailed notes throughout the trial now sat with arms crossed, pen untouched, her focus shifted. Most telling was juror number 8, a young professional who had smiled at Diddy on day 1, but now wouldn't look in his direction, her expression a mixture of shock and disapproval. The contrast between Cassie and Diddy couldn't have been more striking. Through it all, she maintained perfect composure, sitting with excellent posture, hands folded in her lap, her expression neutral and serene. When Diddy had his outburst, she didn't flinch or show fear. She displayed complete control, resilience, and inner strength, while he demonstrated a total lack of it, his raw fury exposed for all to see. As day 2 concluded, Diddy shuffled out with his tie loosened, his shoulders slumped, surrounded by lawyers who looked completely defeated. His eyes stayed fixed on the floor, avoiding the reporters who packed the hallway, their cameras flashing, their microphones extended. The most revealing moment came when his main lawyer put a hand on his back to guide him out, a gesture of support. Diddy shrugged it off just as he had that morning with his other attorney. But this time, it wasn't from confidence. It was from defeat. Legal experts observing the proceedings couldn't contain their reactions. "He just lost right there," whispered one former federal prosecutor to a colleague, their voices hushed but clear. Defense attorneys from other high-profile cases watched in disbelief, one muttering, "Amateur hour," shaking their heads at Diddy's self-inflicted wound. The jury had witnessed Diddy lose control and make threats in open court, a moment that may have already decided the case regardless of what other evidence might emerge, a moment that exposed the man behind the carefully constructed image. What we witnessed wasn't just about evidence, but character. Cassie remained calm and strong, while Diddy completely unraveled when Justin Bieber took her side. Their true personalities emerged under pressure, revealing what had potentially been hidden from the public for years: the raw emotions, the underlying tensions, the stark contrast in their demeanor. The biggest question now: who else might come forward? Justin Bieber just broke the unspoken celebrity code of silence, a code that has protected powerful figures in the music industry for decades. That door is now wide open, and more stars, more artists, more industry insiders might be ready to walk through it with their own stories about Diddy, with their own experiences of his alleged behavior. Industry insiders are now speculating about what this means for both Diddy's empire and the music business as a whole. Will this case spark a larger reckoning within an industry that has often protected powerful figures at the expense of victims? As day 3 approaches, everyone is wondering what other bombshells might drop, what other secrets might be exposed, and will Diddy be able to maintain his composure when faced with them? The courtroom drama continues, but after today's explosive developments, many believe the verdict may already be written.